Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Love Against the Throne. Episode 17. Chapter 84. Cassius's POV. Deke sat in the seat in front of the desk. I saw him wrinkling his nose and sniffing the air. He just rolled his eyes as he looked at me. I shrugged my shoulders. What? You always said the office was strictly for business. He snorted. Satisfying my mate is business. Right. Must be nice. I tilted my head. Are you and Audrey all right? Yes, she just can't have X right now. It hurts too much. Sorry to hear that, buddy. So, what's up otherwise? I asked, trying to change the subject. I finished the investigation into Alpha Casper Reynolds for you. I spoke with his pack members. And some of them corroborate what your sister said. They weren't allowed to intervene due to Alpha orders. But they did see and hear abuse. A low growl rumbled out of my chest. I shouldn't have talked her into going with him. He could have killed her. My baby sister. Deke leaned forward. He tricked all of us, Cass. Thank the goddess for that vampire, I mumbled. My best friend laughed. Yeah, no. So you and your dad are okay with Ainsley being with a vampire? I shrugged. He seems decent enough. I mean for a vamp. Of course, I'll be keeping a close eye on him. I replied to Deke. And he did pretty much save her life. Ainsley is like a little sister to me too. So I was just as angry hearing about what that snake did. Cassius, I'm ready for lunch. Gemma's sweet voice said to me in my mind link. Okay, love. Meet me downstairs by the elevators. I responded to her. I looked at Deke. My pregnant maid needs her lunch. Is there anything else you need to tell me? Deke shook his head. No. I think that is all for now. He stood up. Have a nice lunch with Gemma. Try actually to eat something. He smirked. I'll try, I rolled my eyes at him with a smile. I stood up from the desk as he walked out of the office. I adjusted my pants and walked out. I made it to the elevator, and Gemma was standing there looking beautiful in a light purple sundress. Her blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders. I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her, and kissed her neck. My queen, you look so beautiful. She leaned into me. Hello, my king. She purred. I heard her stomach growling. I better get you fed, baby. I clasped her hand and led her outside to the gazebo. The Omegas were finishing setting up our lunch. Thank you, I said to them as they bowed to us. I had Gemma sit down at the table as I served her lunch. It was some big hearty sandwiches, and she took no time to devour them. There was silence as I watched her eat. She paused and smirked at me. Sorry, I am just starving. I laughed. No worries, love. My pups take a lot out of you. She nodded and sipped some lemonade. I think I want to visit Ainsley after we are finished here. Okay. I am going for a walk, and then I'll go back to the office. I smiled at her as we finished up our lunch. I watched as she plowed through 3 large cupcakes. I wiped frosting off her cute nose. This was a good lunch. Of course, all food is good to me right now. She leaned back in her seat to rub her belly. Are they kicking? She nodded, and I was next to her in an instant on my knees, kissing her belly and smoothing my hand over her dress. Goddess, we are going to have some healthy pups, I said as she ran her hand through my hair. I just knelt there for a few moments. I looked into her violet eyes. Take care on your walk, love. Stay close to the palace. I'll be all right. I won't go far. I'll just circle the hospital. Walking helps the pain and discomfort. Pain? I asked with concern. They are growing fast, Cass. So that means pain. Helps, she smiled at me. But so does walking and exercise. I stood up from the ground and pulled her up to wrap my arms around her. I kissed her gently on the lips as her arms wrapped around my neck. I rested my forehead on hers for a moment. I am sorry you are in pain, love. She ran her hand down my cheek. The pain is worth it. I am in love with these pups, and no amount of pain will change that. She kissed me softly. Tell you, sister. I said hi. Even though I saw her this morning. I will. I kissed her one more time before releasing her. Can we have dinner in our room and watch movies with Nikki? Of course, what would you like to have? She shrugged. Surprise me. Okay. Bye, my love. I said as I walked away from her. I watched as she beckoned the Omegas forward and then helped them clean up. I loved how she was kind to everyone. They all seemed to love her. There was nothing more I could ask for in a queen. I reached the hospital in no time. Angela was standing at the front desk talking to a couple of nurses. Hey, Ange. She turned to me with a smile. Cass, how goes it? Oh, you know. I'm here to see Ainsley. She fake pouted her lip. So, you didn't come to say hi to me? One of your bestest friends? I rolled her eyes. Hello, Angela, I said as the nurses giggled. Is that better? I'll take it. She laughed. Ainsley was awake a minute ago. She is doing very good today. Good to hear. I patted her shoulder as I walked past her. The king is so handsome. I heard one of the nurses say, which only made me smile. I haven't noticed, Angela replied. I laughed as I stepped into my sister's room. She was sitting up on the bed watching TV. She turned to me and smiled. Hi, Cass. Hey, little sis. How are you doing? I responded as I sat in the seat. She sighed quietly. Okay, I guess. She rubbed her belly. Is your pup doing all right? She nodded. The doctors just did an ultrasound, and I got to see her. She smiled at me. It's a wonderful sight. The first time I saw my pups, I nearly cried. She grabbed my hand. I can't wait for Gracie to meet her cousins. I hope they all like each other. I leaned towards her. I hope that too. So where is your vampire? Titus has classes all day today. He'll be here afterward. She explained. Why does a 200-year-old vampire need to take classes? She laughed. He wants to be a lawyer for King Romulus. He was one of the king's guards for 100 years, and now he wants to be a lawyer, and I guess we have the better law school, so that's why he came here. Oh, interesting. Are you going to live with him? We haven't decided yet. We are taking it slow. Well, you and Gracie always have a place here in the palace. And Titus can live here also. She smiled at me. Thank you, Cass. When Titus is done with school, he wants to go back to the Vampire Kingdom, and I want to go with him. I leaned back in my seat. If that is what you want. I just hate for you to go away again. I feel like I failed you the first time as your brother and king. Cassius, you did not fail me. I chose to go with Casper. I sighed. I know, but I should have seen the signs, especially with how his father was. He fooled me too. The first few days back in his territory and he acted like the ideal mate. Then after our ceremony, it's like the alpha power went to his head, and he changed. I wanted to get out sooner, but he had me under constant lockdown and supervision. I was never alone. She explained as tears fell down her cheeks. But when he beat me after finding out my baby was a girl, I just knew I had to get out. I called Titus and told him to meet me in the woods. Thank the goddess for your Titus. I can't thank him enough for saving you. She smiled weakly at me. What is going to happen to Casper? I think you know the answer to that, Ainsley. She started sobbing, and I rubbed her arms. I just tried so hard to be a good mate to him. I did everything he asked me, but nothing I did was good enough. She sniffled, and I grabbed a tissue from one of the side tables and handed it to her. Ainsley, listen to me. None of what happened was your fault. Any male who couldn't see your worth is trash. Casper is trash, and tomorrow he will die for his crime. She kept sobbing, and I heard a hiss from the doorway. I looked up to see Titus standing there with a teddy bear and flowers in his hands. He glared at me. Why is she sobbing? Chill, Titus, I growled lowly at the vampire as he walked towards the bed and sat on the other side. Ainsley smiled at him through her tears as he kissed her forehead. My brother and I were just talking about Casper, and I got emotional. She explained to her boyfriend. She turned to me. I want to see him, Cassius. Casper, I want to see him tomorrow when I get out of here. I blew out a breath as I looked at my sister. I don't think that's a good idea, Ans. Please, Cassius. He is still my mate. I need to see him one more time for my wolf to say goodbye to his wolf. Please. I looked into her pleading eyes. I sighed. Okay, but I am going with you. She nodded. Fine, as long as I get to see him. I would also like to go with, Titus interjected. I scrutinized the vampire. Why? I want to be there with Ainsley, he said as he grabbed my sister's hand. If that is all right with you, he said to her. She smiled at him as she hugged the teddy bear he had gotten her. It's all right with me if it's all right with my brother. You can come with Titus, I spoke to the vampire. But so that you know, he is still being executed. I will not have a repeat of Jeremy and risk you getting kidnapped or worse. I said with a slight growl. I understand, Ainsley said sadly as she rubbed her belly. Titus placed his hand on top of hers and looked into her eyes. Your daughter is now my daughter. She will never know anything less than love from me. I smiled and stood up. Well, I am going to go now and leave you two alone. I leaned down and kissed the top of my sister's head. You take care of my sister, I said to the vampire. Tomorrow, we are having a family dinner out. And I want you to be there, Titus. You want me at a family dinner? I nodded. As long as you are with my sister and a father to her daughter, you are family. I know you vampires don't eat regular food, but I still want you there. Titus smiled at me. I'll be there. Good. I patted his shoulder as I walked towards the door. Good night, Ans. She waved. Bye, brother. I smiled and walked out of the room. The nurses sitting at the desk looked concerned. Are you allowing that vampire to be alone with your sister? One of them asked. I nodded. I trust him. He did save her life. Your Majesty, he is a vampire. Yes, I am aware. For the foreseeable future, he is my sister's mate, or whatever they call it. So treat him with respect. I told him as I felt soft hands on my arm and another nurse was leaning into me. She was a new one I hadn't seen before. Your Majesty, you are so strong and muscular. She purred as I pulled my arm away. Oh, don't be like that. I don't think your queen would appreciate another she-wolf rubbing up on me. The new nurse scoffed. I was just friendly. She said as she tried to grab my arm again. My name is Heidi. I backed away from her. You need to stop trying to grab me. That is not appropriate behavior. I am a mated man and your king. I growled a warning to her, and she pouted. Heidi. I heard Angela bark. Get back to work. She growled and stepped between the nurse and me. The king is not interested. Heidi growled back at Angela. I was just going to show him a good time. She whined before strolling out of the room. Angela huffed. That girl has problems. She keeps rubbing up on all of the males that come in. Why don't you get rid of her? Because she is, Dr. Hansen's nice, and he is doing his sister a favor. She snorted. Angela is not high enough in the hospital hierarchy to have much say in staffing. Well, tell Dr. Hansen that I don't appreciate her behavior, and if it persists, then I'll remove her myself, I told Angela. She smiled. I'll be sure to do that. She squeezed my arm. Hey, how come you can touch him? Heidi asked behind us. I turned to her. Dr. Hall is like a sister to me, and she is a lesbian, so I know there is no ulterior motive. I stepped towards Heidi, who seemed to like it. She waggled her hips. Please, that does nothing for me, I told her. If your inappropriate behavior towards males persists, you will be fired, I told her with a growl. She shrank back from me. I am a good nurse. Then do your job and quit rubbing up on males, or I will have you removed from this facility. But my uncle, I am the king, and my authority supersedes your uncle's. Do I make myself clear? I said to Heidi as her lip quivered. She nodded. I want you to say it. I understand, Your Majesty." Tears fell down her cheeks. I turned away from her. "Good night, ladies," I called over my shoulder as I walked out of the hospital. I saw Gemma walking away from pup care with our son. She stopped when she sensed me approaching. Nick came running over to me, and I scooped him up. "Daddy," he said happily. "Hey, Nick. How was your day?" "I played with Play-Doh." He held up his blue-stained hands. Gemma laughed and held up a little ball of dough. "He made us a cat." She laughed. I lifted an eyebrow at the dough in her hands. "That's a cat." Nick looked at me with apprehensive eyes. "Do you like it, Daddy?" "I made it for you and Mommy." "I love it, son," I said to him. I watched as Gemma sniffed me, and then her eyes narrowed. "Who touched you?" she growled. "Just Ainsley and Angela," I replied. She glared at me. "I smell someone besides your sister and Angela." There was no fooling my mate. I sighed and set Nick down on the ground. "Fine." A new nurse grabbed my arm and rubbed up against me, I explained as Gemma growled and her eyes flashed colors. "What's her name?" I held up my hands. "I handled it. No need to kill her." "Her name? Cassius." She growled again, making Nick stop and look up at her. "Heidi," I replied knowing she was not going to drop it. "I guess she is Dr. Hansen's niece." But like I said, I handled it. She rolled her eyes and picked up Nick and then stalked into the palace. I sighed and followed her. "Are you mad at me now?" "No," she replied. "Oh, she's mad." Enoch snorted in my head. "I didn't do anything inappropriate. The nurse did." "Does that matter to a pregnant she-wolf?" He laughed. I grabbed Gemma's shoulder. "Gemma, I didn't let her touch me again. You can ask Angela about it." "I trust you," she replied through gritted teeth. "But you are still mad." I laughed as we reached the elevator. "I'm not mad," she growled. I couldn't help but laugh again. "Yes, you are," I argued. She glared at me. "I am not mad, Cassius." "Yes, you are," I taunted her. We stepped onto the elevator, and she set Nick down and folded her arms. I could see the anger in her violet eyes. I tried to pull her into my arms, and she pushed me away. "See, you are mad." The door opened, and she stormed down the hall towards our room. Nick ran after her. "Mommy, don't be mad," he called to her. She stopped and turned to him. "I'm not mad, Nicky." She smiled at him. "Let's go watch your cartoons." She grabbed his little hand and led him into our room. I sighed as we all sat on the couch. "I ordered us some fish and chips for dinner with some coleslaw," I told her. She nodded. "Fine." She had her arms folded and just stared at the TV. "Gemma," I reached towards her. She turned her glare on me. "Gemma," I smiled at her. She stood up and walked towards the bathroom. I followed her. "I need to pee, Cass," she said as she slammed the door in my face. I sighed and sat on the bed to wait for her. She walked out of the bathroom a moment later, still glaring at me. Want to talk about it? Why do you have to be so hot that other she-wolves feel the need to hit on you? I smiled and laughed. It's not my fault the ladies like this face. I reached for her and grabbed her hand. I pulled her closer to me. I looked up at her. But this face and body belong only to you, my queen. She sighed and looked into my eyes. I'm sorry. I just get so jealous. I finished her sentence. Yes, she hung her head. Is that terrible? I laughed. No, I leaned my cheek on her belly. That she-wolf did nothing for me. You are no doubt the most beautiful woman in all the kingdom. She ran her hand through my hair. You won't be saying that in the coming months when I am the size of a whale. I kissed her belly as I felt my pups kicking. Oh, that is where you are wrong, my love. You will be even more beautiful to me. She sighed. I'm sorry I got mad. I saw tears falling down her cheeks. I reached up and wiped her cheek with my thumb. I love you, Gemma Fury. You never have to worry about me falling for any other woman. You are my everything. She leaned down and kissed me. I love you, Cassius. Let's enjoy our evening with our son and a nice dinner. Tomorrow is going to be a heavy day with Casper's sentencing and execution. She sighed. You are going to execute him? Yes. He deserves death for what he did to my sister, and I will not repeat the mistake I made with Jeremy, I explained as her face fell. Then, after all that ugliness, I am planning a family dinner at a nice restaurant to welcome Titus to the family. She smiled and clasped my hand. She pulled me to my feet and led me to the couch, and we sat down. I pulled Nick onto my lap, and we watched cartoons until dinner. Then we played Candyland with Nick until his bedtime. After tucking him in, Gemma and I settled on the couch and watched TV till she fell asleep. I carried her to the bed as Nick came running into the room. I set my mate down and then picked up Nick. Daddy, I had a bad dream. I hugged him tightly. It's all right, Nick. I set him on the bed, and he crawled in next to his mother. I then settled onto the bed and snuggled close to my family. Nick eventually ended up lying on my chest while Gemma had her head on my shoulder. It wasn't the most comfortable position for me. But having my family close made it easy to fall into a deep sleep. Cassius's POV. My dreams were filled with happiness and my pups frolicking in the usual spot. Then my dream was interrupted by the distressed crying of the pup on my chest. I opened my eyes, and Nick was clawing my chest and writhing with his eyes closed. Tears fell from his closed eyes. He let out a sob, and that seemed to wake Gemma up. She had been curled up beside me, and she turned to attend to her pup. She picked him up from my chest and held him to hers. His little eyes opened, and he continued to sob as she gently soothed him. I stroked his back while his body shook. He eventually quieted as he woke up more. Oh baby, more bad dreams? Gemma asked him, and he had buried his little face in her chest. The bad men kept chasing me. They kept saying I was a bad pup and that I needed to be hurt with silver. He mumbled against her. She rocked him. My poor pup. Mommy is right here. No bad men will get you. She said quietly to him. I leaned towards them and stroked his cheek. No bad men will get through me, Nick. He smiled slightly at me and reached his arm out to me. Gemma allowed me to pull Nick to my chest. I stroked his back, and he seemed to be calming down. Gemma rolled out of bed. I smiled at her growing belly. She was wearing just a pair of shorts and a sports bra, so she was on full display. She walked into the bathroom, and I turned my attention back to Nick. Let's get ready for the day. Your Nana will spend most of it with you. She said she wants to take you to the zoo today. He looked up at me and grinned. Tigers? I want to watch the tigers. I'm sure Nana will make sure you get to watch the tigers as much as you want. It amused me how much this pup loved tigers. I heard the shower switch on in the bathroom, and I wished I was in there with my mate. But right now, I had my pup to attend to. I sat up with him in my arms and then stood up from the bed. I carried him to the couch and sat him down. Can you stay here and watch your cartoons while your mommy and I get ready? He nodded as I turned on the TV and flipped the channels to his favorite. I walked into the bathroom and stripped off my shorts, and stepped into the shower behind Gemma. She was washing her hair. We took a quiet shower together and then toweled off. She wrapped her robe around her body and walked out of the bathroom. I heard her talking to Nick as I shaved my face. When finished, we went to the closet. I rummaged through my clothes, deciding to be formal today due to the sentencing of Casper. I chose a black three-piece suit with a silver-colored shirt. I glanced at Gemma, and she was wearing a black skirt with a light blue shirt and black jacket. I caressed her from behind as she stood looking at herself in the mirror. I like that outfit on you, love. She leaned into me and smiled. I placed my hands on her belly to feel the pups kicking, but nothing happened. I think they finally went to sleep. She snorted. They were up all night. I laughed. I suppose we should get used to that. I leaned down and kissed her neck. She pulled away from me. I'll get Nikki ready, she said and walked out of the closet. I followed her out. She and Nick were walking out of the door. I sat on the couch and changed the TV to the news. About 10 minutes later, Gemma mind-linked me, telling me she and Nick were ready for breakfast. I turned off the TV and went out of the room. Gemma was walking towards the elevator with Nick. I caught up to them, wrapped my arms around Gemma. My father was waiting at the elevator. Good morning, Dad. I greeted him. Where is Mom? The hospital is releasing Ainsley this morning, and your mother wanted to be there with her. I guess the vampire is there also, he said with mild disgust. It was still hard for my father to accept his daughter being with a vampire. He was coming around, but it was a slow process. He will be joining us for breakfast. I laughed. I don't know if the kitchen has any blood for him. My father laughed out loud at that. We'll have to stock some for it. Dad, I snorted as the elevator door opened. We walked in. He is not in it. He male as far as we know. You two are horrible, Gemma chimed in. My father shrugged. When one of your children mates with a vampire, we'll see how calm you are about it. She rolled her eyes at him. If the vampire is good to my child, then I'll be just fine about it. The door opened, and Nick ran out ahead of us. We saw Ainsley with my mother and Titus waiting by the dining room. Morning, Ans. How are you, little sis? I greeted her as my father hugged her. I'm good, Cass. I'm glad to be out of the hospital. She smiled at me. I hugged her, and then we all walked into the dining room. Everyone stood up, and all eyes were on Ainsley and Titus. Good morning, everyone. I hope your night was good. I see you all looking at the vampire standing beside my sister. This is Titus. He is my sister's boyfriend. I explained as there were some murmurs. I'd personally like to thank him for saving my sister's life, and thus he is welcome here in the palace. I want you all to treat him with respect. I said and smiled at Titus. Thank you, Titus, for saving my sister. Welcome to the family. He nodded at me and clasped Ainsley's hand. I looked back over the long table at the gathered warriors and my beta and his mate. Let's eat. I finished my speech and sat down. The Omegas started to bring out breakfast. They looked a little confused about what to do with Titus. I'll just have some coffee, he told one of the Omegas. The Omega looked at me for a second and then ran off to get the vampire some coffee. I looked down at the breakfast offering, and it was a big slab of ham with eggs and hash browns with toast. A few of the others at the table were quietly watching Titus. I growled out, and they returned their attention to their food. Deke cleared his throat. So, Titus, you can drink coffee no problem. The vampire smirked at my beta. He did seem a bit nervous. Then he was a vampire in a room with about 30 werewolves. He took a sip of coffee. I love coffee, sir. Oh, Deke laughed. I am Deke Shade, he pointed at me. That lug's royal beta. Titus laughed. I assume you must be good friends to talk about him so informal in his presence. Deke nodded. We are like brothers, right Cass? Yes, I laughed. I have known Deke since we were young pups. Titus laughed dryly. Your court reminds me of King Romulus's court. He is quite casual with his closest men. Really? He always seems so formal whenever I have encountered him. King Romulus is about formality in the right situations. But around his own people, he is pretty chill. Titus explained. He doesn't even wear a crown. I snorted. I only wear a crown on special occasions. We continued breakfast chit-chatting amongst ourselves. Nick's grandmother, Liz, walked into the dining room. Her eyes were red and puffy. She sat a few seats down from us. Is everything all right, Liz? Gemma asked her. Liz sniffled as an Omega walked towards her what she wanted for breakfast. Just some oatmeal and coffee, please. She turned to Gemma. I am fine now, Gemma. I just woke up from a dream with my Jeremy and Mark. She sounded sad. Gemma stood up and walked over to the woman. They exchanged a hug. Are you still up for taking Nick today? She nodded. Yes, Gemma. I know you are sentencing the princess's maid today, and I would prefer not to be around for that. Liz looked at me. Sorry. I just still have flashbacks from Jeremy's sentencing and I held up a hand. It's quite all right, Elizabeth. I'll send guards with you too, of course. But enjoy the day. She smiled softly. Thank you, Cassius. Gemma stood up and walked back towards Nick. She leaned down. "Why don't you go cheer up Nana?" she said to the pup. "You always make her feel better." Nick squealed and trotted over to his grandmother. He sat in the empty seat beside her, and they started talking. "Cass, my sister's voice broke me from my thoughts. I would like to go see Casper now." I sighed heavily at her. I did not want to take her to see him. But I understood she needed to say her goodbyes despite everything. He was still her mate. "Okay, Ans. Let's go," I said to my sister. "I don't think that's a good idea," my father interjected. "Dad, I already made the decision." I stood up. My father growled. "And I am her father. I should have a say." "Daddy, Casper is still my mate. Azra needs to say goodbye to her mate. She knows he is about to die. Gage never hurt me. Casper did," she explained, referring to her and Casper's wolves. "Gage deserves to say goodbye to Azra." My father sighed heavily. "Fine, but I am going." I rolled my eyes. "Okay, let's get going." I looked down at Gemma. "Do you want to go too?" She shook her head. "No, I'll go get started in the office, so it's mostly caught up before the sentencing." I smiled and leaned down to kiss her. "Thank you, love. See you later." I waved and then walked out of the dining room with my father, sister, and Titus close behind. We walked towards the dungeon in silence. "Can you go outside in the daylight?" my father asked Titus. The vampire indicated a pendant he was wearing. "A friend of mine is a witch, and she made this potion to act as a sunscreen so I can move about in the sunlight," he explained. "Interesting." My father mused as we approached the dungeon building. I put in my password and fingerprints. The door hissed as I opened it and held it to let everyone inside. We went down the stairs, and Maria was sitting at the desk talking to some of her guards. She looked up and raised an eyebrow. "Are we leading tours now, Cass?" "No. Ainsley is here to say goodbye to her scumbag of a mate. And my father and Titus here insisted on coming with." Maria regarded the vampire. "You are all right with a vampire seeing the dungeon?" "Yes. I am all right with it." I turned to Titus. "He is just here for Ainsley, right Titus?" He nodded. "Yes. I have no other interest in being here." He clasped Ainsley's hand. Maria tossed me the cell keys and buzzed me into the inner part of the dungeon. I lead my little posse down the corridor towards Casper's cell. I opened the door, and Casper was hanging from silver chains with his eyes closed. His head snapped up as we all filed in. He growled weakly as he saw Titus holding Ainsley's hand. "Did you bring the bloodsucker here to rub it into my face?" he said to me. "No, I brought my sister here because she wants to talk to you. My father and Titus are here in support." Casper looked at the ground. "I have nothing to say to any of you." Ainsley released Titus's hand and stepped towards Casper. "I have a lot to say to you." She reached her hand to touch Casper's arm, but he growled, and she pulled back. "I had faith in you, Casper. You made me believe that being your mate was the gift I was told having a mate was. But you turned it into a nightmare. You made me believe I wasn't good enough. He lifted his head to look at her. I was taught that a she-wolf has her place behind her mate. I am your alpha. Your place was behind me. I am your Luna. My place was at your side to help you lead your pack. But you threw me aside, and when you found out I was having a girl, you nearly killed me. Girls are a weakness. He justified his action. You tried to kill her first with poison, and when that didn't work, you just kicked my stomach, hoping to make me miscarry. Ainsley sniffled as tears formed in her eyes. Titus stepped towards her and placed his hands on her shoulders. Casper growled. Unhand my mate, vamp. No, Titus replied. I didn't come here for your justifications for my torture, Casper. Ainsley sneered at him. Casper snorted. Torture? I did not torture you. I hit you here and there to make you mind. Ainsley grasped his neck and glared into his eyes. You don't deserve a goodbye. I am here so Ezra can give her last goodbye to Gage. He was the only reason I stayed for so long. Poor Gage didn't deserve human like you. I only hope his next human is a far better match for his gentle nature. Casper's eyes changed from blue to black, and Ainsley released him. He smiled weakly. I am sorry for everything Casper did to you, my mate. I tried stopping him. I tried pleading with him. But I could not stop him. I know, Gage. Ainsley leaned forward and kissed his lips. I saw Titus tense up. I will always love you, Gage. I'm sorry it's come to this, and I know Ezra will forever miss you. He whimpered. Please take care of our pup. He looked up at Titus with black eyes. Is this your vampire? Ainsley nodded. Take good care of my pup, please, Gage said to Titus. A slight smile spread onto the vampire's face. I will, Wolf. Gage took a deep breath. I am too weak from the wolf bane to maintain control much longer. May I please see Ezra one last time? Please. I sighed and looked at Ainsley. It's up to you, Ans. I'm afraid it's too late in my pregnancy to shift, but I will give her control for a few moments, Gage, Ainsley said through tears. Her eyes turned from blue to black. Oh, my sweet Gage. A different voice came out of my sister. I am so sorry we have to part. My dear Ezra. I wish I could be with you forever, but I got stuck with a jerk of a human who didn't appreciate the gift our goddess gave him. I will miss you forever, my sweet mate. I felt tears welling up in my eyes as I heard the two wolves speaking through their humans. I have to leave you now, Ezra. Casper is fighting to get control back, and I don't have the strength to fight him. Goodbye. I love you and Ainsley. His voice faded as the body shook, and his eyes turned blue again. That stupid wolf and his sappy love. Casper snarled. Ainsley's eyes were back to her own. She glared at Casper. I want you to know I am naming my daughter Grace, Ainsley rubbed her belly. That is the only good thing I got from you, Casper, is my daughter. Don't worry, I will tell her all about you. But she will be raised by a real man. Ainsley said as she clasped Titus's hand. Goodbye, Casper. Casper growled. You are my mate. You will feel the pain of my death. Ainsley took a deep breath and looked him in the eyes. Ainsley Fury, reject you Casper Reynolds as my mate and alpha. Accept the rejection, Casper. I stepped towards him. I knew if he accepted the rejection, then his death would not cause my sister any more pain. No, he growled. I said to accept it, I ordered in my tone. Casper stiffened and glared at my sister. Casper Reynolds, accept your rejection. I watched as both he and my sister contorted in pain. Titus was quick to put his arms around Ainsley to keep her upright. She cried out in pain. Take her to the hospital, I told the vampire. No. Ainsley shouted. I am fine, Cassius. Titus had picked her up bridal style. I just need to rest. Fine, I will take you to your room, Titus told her. Is that all right with you too? He asked my father and me. It's fine with me, my father replied. Fine with me too. Titus smirked and carried my sister out of the cell, leaving my father and me alone with Casper. The former alpha was shaking as the pain of rejection affected his body. Your sentencing is at 10, I told him. Just kill me now. He mumbled. Why the pomp and circumstance? Just do it. My father stepped forward and grabbed his throat. I would like nothing more than to do that. But we do things civilly in this kingdom. He released Casper with a snarl and stormed out of the cell. I followed after closing and locking the cell. I tossed the keys back to Maria as I walked out of the inner cell unit. Bring him to the throne room at 10, I told my Delta. She nodded. Will do. She fake saluted, and I walked out of the dungeon. My father was standing just outside talking to a couple of warriors. I am going to the office, Dad. He nodded. I'll see you at the sentencing, son. I patted his back and then walked away. As I was walking towards the palace, the nurse from yesterday sauntered towards me. She was in a nurse's uniform like you would see in a porn film. She stopped in front of me, and her pungent perfume wafted into my nose. What can I do for you? I asked her with an air of annoyance. I just came to apologize for my behavior, Your Majesty. I am ever so lonely without a mate. She reached out to touch me. I pulled back from her with a snarl. You need to quit touching males without permission, I said to her through narrowed eyes. I'm sorry. You are just the most handsome male in all the kingdom, and it's hard not to throw myself at you. I want you so bad. I laughed. My mate would tear you to pieces. She sneered. I doubt it. You keep thinking that. I laughed. Now, move along. You made your apology. Please, Cassius, just one hug. I growled at her. That is King Cassius to you. And no. I walked around her and left her behind. I didn't even look back. I am so much better than that queen, I heard her whine. I just kept walking towards the palace. I finally reached my office, and Gemma was typing away in front of the computer. She looked cute sitting in my massive chair. Her violet eyes scrunched together in concentration. Hello, love. She glanced at me and nodded. Hi. She wrinkled her nose and glared at me. Yes, that Heidi chick approached me and tried touching me again. She tried apologizing for yesterday, I said as I approached the desk. Gemma just stared at me quietly. She is purely deluded, and I walked away from her. Gemma nodded quietly and returned her attention to the computer. I sat in her chair. That's it? You aren't going to yell at me? I asked her. No, she replied. I sighed. Yesterday, you got all mad and jealous. She turned her attention back to me. I am hormonal, Cassius. My emotions are all over the place. So give me a break. I laughed and ran my hand down her arm. She shuddered from the contact and finished up the email. How are things going in here? Fine. The kingdom is remarkably quiet this morning. Just a few emails and phone calls. That's good to know. The sentencing will be at 10. I told her. How did it go with Ainsley talking to Casper? Gemma said as she scooted closer to me. I leaned in and touched my forehead to hers. Their wolves said goodbye to each other. I feel bad for Casper's wolf. He got stuck with an awful human that tortured his mate, and he has to suffer for it. I explained. I was glad Enoch and I had a good relationship. I'm glad you are my human, too. Enoch responded in my head. Ditto, buddy. I replied to him. And I am glad we have such beautiful mates. Isn't that the truth? He chuckled. Gemma grabbed the sides of my face and kissed my lips. I am thankful to the goddess that I have such great mates. Leonora is too. Enoch loves you so much, my queen. I smiled against her lips. Anyways, let's get to work until it's time. I need to think about something else. Gemma sighed. Okay, Cass. She stood up and allowed me to take my chair. Her chair was too small for me. We then got to work. A couple of hours later, it was time for the sentencing, and we headed to the throne room. My parents were waiting just outside with Ainsley and Titus. I thought you were resting, Ans. I said to my sister. I need to be here for this. She told me. I noticed Casper's former beta, now alpha of his pack, approaching. Alpha Harris, I acknowledge him as he bowed. King Cassius, Luna. He said to my sister and me. How are things at Rocky Mountain Pack? They are slowly falling into place. Some pack members were hesitant about submitting to me. But I managed to win them over to me eventually. He looked at my sister. Luna, you are still welcome to come home and serve the pack. I am no longer Luna of the pack. I rejected Casper, and he accepted. Besides, it was never really home to me. I was Luna only in name, I never had anything to do with the pack. Alpha Harris sighed heavily. I know. I just sort of need someone to help me run the pack. I am willing to go there for a few days to help you get the pack affairs in order. But only if Titus can come. He is free to accompany you. I am sad that you will no longer be Luna. We all loved you. The pack. Casper didn't respect you. Ainsley stepped forward and grabbed the Alpha's arm. I pray to the moon goddess that you find your mate and Luna soon. You are a good man and will make a good Alpha, Harris. Any she-wolf would be honored to have you as a mate. He sniffled. Thank you, Ainsley. Okay, guys, let's get this sentencing over with. I glanced at Gemma as she sniffled. She had tears running down her cheeks. I wrapped my arm around her shoulder and leaned down to kiss her cheek, and then pulled her into the throne room. Sorry, that was just so beautiful. She mumbled as we sat on our thrones. My parents and sister stood just behind us, and Titus stood at the bottom of the steps. The doors were opened as Maria led several guards dragging Casper into the room. I stood up. Casper was wearing only a white t-shirt and black pants. He glared at me as Maria stepped aside. The guards held him upright. Casper Reynolds, former alpha of Rocky Mountain Pack, you stand before me accused of the abuse and attempted murder of your mate and my sister Princess Ainsley. I began my speech. Severe crimes in this kingdom. Do you have anything to say for yourself? No, he replied and looked at the ground. Just get this over with, he growled. I sighed. I, King Cassius, sentence you to death for your crimes. Big surprise, Casper mumbled. I am giving you one last chance to speak, I said to him. He looked me in the eyes. You may think you are the king of morality because you believe females deserve to be treated as equals. But that will be the downfall of this kingdom. She-wolves should be one step behind us, males. Not thinking they are equal. Did I strike my mate? Yes. But she deserved it. I growled. No one deserves being beaten and tortured, especially by the one wolf that is supposed to love them no matter what. I love Ainsley. I love her a lot. But she needed to mind me. And your pup? You wanted to kill her for being female. I snarled. He snorted. Whatever, man. Just kill me. Take him away, I ordered the guards. Unless anyone has something else to say. This sentencing is over. I announced as the guards dragged Casper from the room. I looked at my father. Are you ready to get this over with? My father cracked his knuckles. Very. Do you wish to be there, Ans? I asked my sister. She shook her head. I said my goodbye. I would like to go back to my room now and rest some more. I pulled her into a hug. You rest well, little sister. I hope you'll be well enough for our family dinner tonight. I will. She hugged my parents and then grabbed Titus's hand and left the throne room. I looked at Gemma, who was still sitting on her throne. What are you going to do, love? I sort of want a nap too. She chuckled as she stood up. I wrapped my arms around her. If my queen wants a nap, then she should take a nap. I kissed her forehead. I have to go back to the office after my father, and I take care of Casper. I'll come to check on you later. She smiled at me. Okay. Sleep well, love. I kissed her softly before releasing her. I'll walk her up to your room, Cassie. My mom said to me. Thanks, Mom. I kissed my mother's cheek. Okay, Dad. Let's go. I said to my father. We then left the throne room and towards the dungeon. Gemma's POV after the sentencing, I just felt completely drained of energy. As much as I wanted to see the execution, I knew I needed to rest. So I opted to go up to my room. I walked with Izzy towards the elevators. We walked mostly in silence. After I got off the elevator, I said goodbye to Izzy and rushed to my room. I flopped onto the bed and was out like a light immediately. I only slept for about an hour before my bladder and stomach waked me up. I went into the bathroom, and when I was done, my stomach was rumbling. I felt more energized than I had earlier, so I decided to get something to eat. I changed my clothes from my suit to a light summer dress. The girl who hated dresses was now wearing them voluntarily. They felt better with my growing belly. Less constrictive than pants. Satisfied with my look, I headed out of my bedroom. I wondered if Cassius and Terry had already executed Casper. When I reached the kitchen, the Omegas all stopped what they were doing and bowed. I felt guilty for interrupting their work. The chef stepped towards me and bowed. "What can I do for my lovely queen?" I smiled at the human stuck amongst the werewolves. "I just want a big sandwich," I replied as I sat on a stool that was against a counter. "Of course, Your Majesty. What would you like on it?" He smiled at me. "Make it roast beef and huge with lots of onions, pickles, and mayo." "Right away." He turned to the Omegas and started barking orders. I sat on the stool and watched the activity, and the next thing I knew, a big sandwich with some chips and a can of Sprite was set in front of me. "Do you mind if I eat this here?" The chef laughed. "Of course not. I'm not in the way or anything." "No, Your Majesty. That is where we eat on our breaks." I nodded as I bit into the sandwich. I moaned satisfaction. "This is so good," I said with a full mouth. The chef smiled and walked away. I noticed a couple of female Omegas with food looking hesitant to sit at the counter with me. "Oh, please sit and enjoy your lunches," I said to them. They sat nervously and watched me. I sighed as I set my sandwich down. "Please don't be nervous. I am just like you too." They looked at each other and then started to eat their lunches. But stayed quiet. I felt guilty for invading their space. "What are your names?" I asked them. They both looked similar, like sisters or cousins. Both were about my age with brown hair and brown eyes. One was slightly taller than the other. "I am Fran, and that's Gina." The taller one replied. I held out a hand to them. "Nice to meet you, Fran and Gina." I smiled warmly at them. They looked at each other, and Fran shook my hand. "See, I don't bite." They both laughed. "How is the sandwich, Your Majesty?" Gina asked. "Good. Everything is always good here. Are you two being treated well here in the kitchen?" "Yes. We both work here to save for school next year." I took a sip of Sprite. "What are you two going to study?" Fran was munching on some tuna on crackers. "I want to be an elementary school teacher, Your Majesty." "Oh, cool. The world can always use more teachers. I just hope people accept an Omega as a teacher." Fran looked at her food. "I don't see why not. A teacher is a teacher no matter their wolf status," I said to her, which elicited a smile from her. I smiled at Gina. "And you, Gina?" "I am not entirely sure yet. Part of me wants to be a therapist, and part of me wants to own a business." She laughed. "Well, you will figure it out." I finished my food, and the twins began to kick. Oh boy, these two are active now that I fed them. I patted my belly. So it's true you are having twins? Fran asked me. I nodded. A boy and a girl. That is so exciting. I can't wait till I meet my mate, and we have pups. Fran mused. I hope you get a good mate that treats you with respect. Thank you, Queen Gemma. You are so nice to us. I shrugged. I believe in treating everyone with respect no matter their status. I stood up from the stool. You two have a good day. I picked up my lunch dishes. Leave the dishes. We'll take care of them. Fran said to me. I sighed. Okay, thank you. I waved before walking out of the kitchen. I decided to find Cassius. Cass, where are you? I asked through the mind link. I am heading back to the office. Okay, I'll meet you there. I replied and headed towards the office. The twins became active as my mate's scent hit my senses. I saw him getting off the elevator now, wearing just a pair of slacks and a blue button-up shirt. He smiled at me and closed the distance between us. He pulled me into his arms. Your pups knew you were close and started kicking. He smiled and placed his hand on my belly. Ah, my pups know who their father is already. He leaned his head down and kissed me. He looked me over. I like that dress on you. I'm surprised you are wearing so many dresses lately. They are more comfortable right now. I laughed. So, I take it that Casper is dead. He nodded and clasped my hand as we walked towards the office. Yes, he went down cursing and screaming. My dad delivered the final blow. So, what did you do exactly? I was mildly curious about details. He sighed as we walked into the office. We sat on the couch. My father beat out of him. I slit his throat, and then my father ripped his heart out. I cringed as I imagined Terry ripping a heart out. He always seemed so chill, but I knew Terry was more than capable of killing others easily. He and my father fought in a lot of battles together. Wow! I didn't know exactly how you carried out executions. At Zephyr Moon, most were just stabbed with silver knives in the heart. Quick and easy. Cassius leaned back on the couch. We usually do that also. But my father was angry at what Casper had done to my sister, and I am not dumb enough to hold him back when he is angry. He chuckled. I'm just glad it's over, and Ainsley can move on. I leaned on his shoulder. I almost feel guilty that I got such a wonderful loving mate and some she-wolves get stuck. Like what did they do wrong to wind up with mates that hate them? It doesn't seem fair. He sighed and wrapped his arm around my shoulders, making me rest my face on his chest. I inhaled his heavenly scent. The goddess isn't always fair, love. I think bad mates are lessons or tests like with Ainsley. Her bad mate led her to her true love, even if he is a vampire. I believe she and Titus truly love each other. You are so wise, my king. I smiled up at him. So, I have been told. He laughed softly. Shall we get back to work? I sighed as we both stood up and walked over to our desks. I suppose. We'll have fun at dinner later. We sat and buckled down to work. Hours later, we had finished work and were eager to go to our family dinner to welcome Titus to the family. As we were heading to the elevator, Nicky came bounding down the hall with Liz close behind. He had a stuffed tiger in his hand. "Mommy, look, Nana got me a tiger." I picked him up and kissed his cheek. Liz caught up a second later. "Boy, this pup wore me out today." She chuckled. "Did you have fun at the zoo, Nicky?" I asked my son. "We watched the tigers for like an hour." Liz laughed. "My noodle loves tigers." "That he does. Thank you for taking him, Liz." She smiled. "The pleasure was mine. Spending time with him helps, you know." I patted her arm. "I'm glad. I am happy it helps. Well, if you don't mind, I am going to go to my room and take a bath and then relax the rest of the night." "Oh, you deserve it, Liz. We are all going to dinner. You can come if you want." Liz shook her head. "No, thank you. I just really want to sit and do nothing tonight." "Okay, some other time then." "Thanks again, Liz," I said to her as we walked into the elevator. I set Nicky down as we got off the elevator. I followed him into his room. I bathed him and put him into nice clothes for dinner, then lead him into my room and set him in front of the TV. "Now, you be a good pup while Daddy and I get dressed." "I'm hungry, Mommy," he whined. "Didn't Nana feed you?" "Yes. But I am hungry now." I sighed. "Honey, we are going to dinner after Daddy, and I get dressed." He whined again. I sighed heavily and rummaged through my snack drawer beside my bed. I grabbed a chocolate chip granola bar and opened it. I gave it to Nicky. "Here, eat this." He happily took it from me and bit into it. Satisfied, I went into my closet as Cassius walked in wearing only a towel. I couldn't help but stare at my mate and his chiseled, muscular body. I walked over and smoothed my hand over his smooth chest. He purred. All this time, and my queen still likes checking me out. "Well, you are the hottest man on the planet," I smirked at him and tried pulling away, but he wrapped his arms around me and kissed me hard on the lips. We held the kiss for a minute before pulling away. I sighed from the loss of contact. We silently got dressed for dinner. I chose a long green dress with a bit of shimmer to it. Cassius was wearing a navy blue suit with a white shirt and no tie. "Aren't we snazzy?" He wrapped his arm around my waist. "Always, love." He kissed my lips, and we walked out of the closet. Nick was still quietly watching his cartoons. "Come on, Nick," Cassius called to him. "Let's go get dinner." My pup obeyed and ran over and grabbed Cassius's hand. We then walked out of the room and met up with everyone. Ainsley was in Titus's arms, and Terry and Izzy were standing hand in hand. "Wow, we are one good-looking family," Cassius spoke out. "We are, son," Terry laughed. I looked at Ainsley. "So, did you get any sleep?" She nodded. "Yep." Izzy snickered. "I didn't hear any sleeping." Ainsley turned to beet red. "Mother!" "What?" "You were a quite loud young lady." I laughed as Ainsley buried her face in Titus's shoulder. "I am sorry about that, Izzy." The vampire laughed. I tried getting her to sleep, but she pounced on me. Titus! Ainsley smacked him. We all laughed while stepping into the elevator. This is going to be a fun night, I said. Once downstairs, we went out the front door, and Bruce was waiting with the limo. He opened the door, and we all filed in. I noticed 4 SUVs full of guards and warriors ready to accompany us. I looked at Cassius as I slid into the limo. Don't you think that many guards is overkill? When the entire royal family goes out on the town, we need extra security, Terry explained. Oh, I guess that's why we don't all go out together very often, I responded as the limo pulled away from the palace. 10 minutes later, we reached the fancy Italian restaurant where Cassius had proposed to me. We all filed out of the limo. Cassius picked up Nikki and led us into the restaurant after the guards had cleared the way. The restaurant owner, a short, balding man, was at the front door to greet us. Your Majesties! Sal, you old dog! Terry stepped towards him and clapped him on the shoulder. Terrence! It's good to see you, old friend. The owner laughed. I have the best table ready for your lovely family tonight and the best wine selected. I looked at Ainsley. Wine. Don't you miss wine? She laughed. Totally. We were led in by the owner and sat us at a large round table towards the restaurant's back. The patrons already inside stopped eating and talking to watch us. The royal family arriving anywhere was something to watch. We all sat and were handed menus. Everyone but Ainsley, Nick, and I got wine, while I settled on orange juice for Nikki and me. Ainsley decided on water. I was amazed to see Titus drink the wine. This is good wine, the vampire said out loud. You vampires are a strange bunch, Terry said to him. I hope us all eating in front of you won't be too weird. Titus shrugged. I am used to it, Terry. I can eat a little bit of regular food without getting sick. I looked over the menu as Terry and Titus chatted. There was no kids menu for Nikki. I sighed as I looked for something my son would eat. So, Nikki, how about some spaghetti for dinner? He shook his head. I want chicken nuggets. I sighed. There were no chicken nuggets on the menu. The owner popped up seconds later to take our orders. I opted to go last. I looked at him. I hate to be a pain, but my pup wants chicken nuggets. The owner nodded and leaned over to me. We have chicken parmesan we could chop up to look like chicken nuggets if that will satisfy the pup. Thank you. That would be perfect. With a little spaghetti on the side for him. The owner laughed, and then I ordered some seafood Alfredo for myself. We all settled into talking while waiting for our food. So Titus, is everyone in the palace treating you all right? Cassius asked. So far. Though I believe most are too afraid to anger me, so they walk on eggshells. Titus explained. It may take some time for my people to come around to you, Cassius responded. It's all right, Cass. I am used to it. A vampire in a palace full of werewolves is bound to meet with resistance. Titus held onto Ainsley's hand. But it's worth it to be with the woman I love more than anything finally. He looked into her eyes. I love you too, Titus. Ainsley looked into his eyes. I am so glad my family finally understands. Terry sighed heavily. I am so sorry I made you go with that jerk. Daddy, you didn't make me. I chose to go with Casper. Yeah, after I shamed you into it. I was blinded by prejudice against vampires. He looked at Titus, no offense. But I wished I would have seen the signs. Dad, Casper had us all fooled. Cassius joined in. It wasn't your fault. Terry, abusers, can be good at hiding their true nature, I said to my father-in-law. Still, I feel guilty that I even thought that sending my daughter to that monster was ideal. Terence, you can't dwell on that, Izzy patted his hand as our food arrived. We need to look forward. Our daughter is happy now. Izzy smiled at Titus. Mom is right, Daddy. I am happy now. Ainsley said to her father. We all dug into our food, except for Titus, who only had wine. He looked a bit odd sitting at the table without food. Nicky seemed happy with his food and got spaghetti sauce all over his face. How come he isn't eating? Nicky asked, pointing at Titus. He is a vampire, Nicky. They don't eat regular food. I told my son. My son's eyes widened. Nicky stared at Titus for a moment. Do you drink blood? Titus nodded. Yes, pup. Do you sparkle like Edward? My pup asked. The vampire broke out into laughter. You let your pup watch Twilight? I shook my head. No, my sister showed it to him. Titus took a deep breath. No, Nick. I do not sparkle. I can go outside in the daylight, though. Oh, Nicky responded. You are cool. Titus smiled at him. You are cool too, Nick. Are you my uncle now since you are Aunt Ainsley's boyfriend? Yes, I suppose I am, Titus said to my son. He then looked at Ainsley. There is something I have been meaning to ask you, Ainsley. Ainsley looked up from her food and tilted her head. Titus cleared his throat. Vampires don't have mates like werewolves do. We choose the one who makes our dead heart feel alive again. From the day I met you, I knew you were the one I wanted to spend forever with. Titus stood up and then got down on one knee in front of Ainsley, pulled a velvet box from his pocket, and opened it as tears welled up in Ainsley's eyes. Princess Ainsley Marie Fury, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? What do you mean by forever? Terry suddenly interjected. Daddy! Ainsley yelled at him. She then looked at Titus with tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, I will marry you, Titus. He stood up and pulled her into his arms and kissed her as we all clapped. Titus slid the beautiful diamond ring onto Ainsley's finger. They then sat down. I am so happy for you, Ans, I said to her. Thank you, Gemma. Ainsley was a crying mess. Titus gently took his napkin and wiped the tears off her cheeks. Do you intend to turn my daughter into a vamp? Terry growled lowly. Titus took a deep breath. Only if she wants it, Terence. I won't force her. But she won't be a full vampire. She would remain a hybrid like Queen Guinevere. But she will live almost forever. Daddy, I love Titus. But I don't know if I want to be turned in yet. I want to worry about right now. Take all the time you need, Ainsley. Titus clasped her hand. Well, whatever you decide, I support you, Izzy said while glaring at Terry. Will you be able to give me other grandchildren? Titus stiffened and chuckled dryly. Why yes, it is possible for me to have biological children with Ainsley. Mother! You are putting too much pressure on my fiancé. Let us just worry about the pup growing in my belly before worrying about more. Izzy shrugged. Sorry, I just want a lot of grandbabies. Isabel, I will give Ainsley as many children as she wants. Titus laughed. Ainsley turned red. Can we stop talking about this? She looked at me. Gemma, will you be my maid of honor? My eyes widened. Really? You want me to be your maid of honor? Yes, you are more than my sister-in-law. I see you as my best friend. You were the most understanding about my relationship with Titus. You didn't immediately judge me for it, and you are always there for me. I smiled. I would love to be your maid of honor. When do you think you'll get married? She shrugged. I'm thinking sometime after Gracie is born. She looked at Titus. If that is all right with you. He smiled. Of course it is. I have all the time in the world. Cassius nudged me. So when are we getting married? My face paled. Cassius had asked me to marry him months ago, and I had almost forgotten about it with everything that had happened. I don't know. He laughed. We can wait till after the pups are born. I just want something simple like a bonfire in the woods by a lake. Ainsley laughed. Don't take my idea. Oh, you were thinking the same thing. She shook her head. No. Is it bad I want a big fancy cliché princess wedding? My little girl can have the wedding of her dreams, Izzy mused. As long as I can help you plan it. Of course, Mom. We continued talking about wedding details while we finished our meals. After dessert, we were ready to leave. Nikki was getting fussy and cranky. It sounds like little pups need to go to bed now. No, he whined and pouted. I'm not tired. Oh, you sound tired, Nikki, I said as we all stood up. Cassius picked up my cranky pup. Nikki whined and struggled to get out of Cassius's arms. Put me down, Daddy. He demanded. No, we need to get going. Cassius held him tight as we walked outside and towards the limo. Nikki started crying as we all filed into the vehicle. Cassius held him on his lap. Nick, stop crying. We'll play with your cars a little bit when we get home. Nikki sniffled. Okay, Daddy. He calmed a little as the limo drove away from the restaurant. We reached the palace, and all went to our respective rooms. I followed Cassius as he carried Nick into his room. He set our pup down while Nicky grabbed his cars. I was feeling tired. I think I am going to go read, I said to Cassius. Okay, love. I'll take care of Nick. I leaned down and kissed Cassius. Nicky, you have fun with Daddy. I am going nighty-night. Good night, Mommy. My pup said and jumped up to kiss my cheek. I hugged him and then walked out of his room. I smiled as I heard him and Cassius playing with the cars. I stripped out of my dress and put on a sports bra and shorts to sleep in. I skipped the reading and went right to sleep. A little while after, I felt Cassius crawl into bed, and he pulled me to him. I opened my eyes, and we began to kiss, which led to passionate lovemaking. Luckily, we were not interrupted by Nikki. We soon fell asleep in each other's arms. Gemma's POV: I was snuggled happily in the arms of my mate. My dreams were calm and happy. My dream faded as I felt my wolf surging forward. "Pup needs us," Leonora said, and I opened my eyes. I then heard Nikki screaming, and I managed to disentangle myself from Cassius's arms and rolled off the bed. My movements caused him to wake up. I quickly grabbed my robe and pulled it onto my body, and I rushed out of the bedroom. "Gemma," I heard Cassius calling to me as I walked into my son's room. Nikki was still screaming somewhere in his room. He wasn't on his bed. "Nikki!" I called to him as I used my sense of smell to find him. I found him in the closet. Eyes wide opened and still screaming. He seemed to calm slightly as I ran over to him and scooped him up into his arms. His little body was trembling. "Nikki! What's wrong, baby? The bad men are going to hurt me!" he cried as Cassius burst into the room. Nikki flinched in my arms. "Don't let the bad man get me!" he yelped. "Sweetie, it's just Daddy. Daddy won't hurt you." I sat on his bed with him still in my arms. Cassius knelt in front of us. Nikki looked at him and shook his head. "Don't leave me, Mommy." I held him tight to my chest. "I will never leave you, baby," I said to him as Cassius stroked his back. I felt tears welling up in my eyes as my pup trembled in my arms. He was no longer screaming, but I felt the fear radiating from him. "What did you see, Nick?" Cassius asked him. My pup just trembled against my chest and shook his head. "I don't think he wants to talk about it, Cass," I said to my mate. "Let's go back to bed." "No," Nikki whined and held me tighter. I stood up with him in my arms. "I'm taking you into our room." "Okay." He didn't say anything as I walked out of his room and into our room. I crawled onto the bed. Cassius climbed in on his side. He pulled Nikki onto his chest, and my pup relaxed more. "It will be all right, Nick. Daddy is right here. No bad men will ever hurt you." He softly stroked Nikki's back, and I scooted closer to them and rested my cheek on Cassius's chest. "I think Nick needs therapy, Gemma," Cassius said through the mind link. "I think he has PTSD." I looked up at his face to see tears in his eyes. "I think you are right, Cass." Cassius took a deep breath as Nikki's little eyes closed. It pained both of us to see our pup in so much distress. Eventually, my pup's breathing evened out as he fell asleep on his father's chest. "He's asleep," I mumbled as I felt my fatigue growing. "Do you need a therapist also, Gemma?" Cassius asked me with a serious tone. "You went through something traumatic, and you may need to come to terms with it. There is no shame in it." I sighed. "Let's worry about Nikki first. Gemma, please just think about it." His free hand traced down my arm, sending tingles through my body. "Okay," I responded as my eyelids felt heavy, and I fell asleep again. My eyes opened again a few hours later as Nikki was whimpering in his sleep. He was still curled up on Cassius's chest. I was lying on my back and reached over to run my hand down my pup's back. He seemed to calm down. Cassius opened his eyes and regarded the pup. Was he dreaming again? I nodded. I woke up to him whimpering. My poor pup. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. I needed to fix what was wrong with my baby. I feel helpless that I can't help him. Cassius sighed. We will get him help, love. I sighed and got out of bed. My bladder needed emptying. I waddled into the bathroom. My belly seemed to have doubled in size overnight. The twins gave little kicks as I turned on the shower. I took off my robe and stepped into the hot water. Are you going to join me? I asked Cassius through the mind link. I wish. But Nick just woke up, and I am just lying here with him. Cassius responded. Is he all right? I asked with concern. He is a little shaken, but we are just talking. I'll take my shower after you finished yours. Okay, Cass. I'll try to hurry. No rush. I sighed and finished my shower. I dried off and put my robe back on. Cassius was sitting on the couch with Nikki beside him, watching cartoons. He patted Nikki's arm and stood up. He stopped to kiss me before heading into the bathroom. I walked over to Nikki and sat beside him. What is SpongeBob doing now? He is trying to catch the jellyfish, Nikki responded. I stroke his blonde hair. I'll be right back, all right. I am going to get dressed. Okay, Mommy. He responded with his eyes glued to the TV. I went into the closet and quickly got dressed. I put on my light purple sundress as everything else felt too tight to wear today. I then took Nikki to get dressed in his room. When we were done, Cassius was ready to go downstairs for breakfast. I smiled as I looked my mate over. He was going casual today with dark blue jeans and a white polo shirt. His brown hair was smoothed back, and his blue eyes sparkled. We entered the dining room with the rest of the royal family, and everything stood up as usual. And Cassius gave a short morning speech before we all sat. Breakfast for me was just some cereal and toast with some fruit. Cassius, after I take Nikki to pup care, I am going to go over to the hospital to see about getting Nikki in for a therapy appointment. I mind-linked Cassius. Okay, love. I will be doing some training this morning. I have been slacking on that. He replied. After breakfast, I took Nikki to pup care. His grandmother Liz was standing at the front desk laughing with Barb. The two women stopped as we walked in. Good morning, ladies, I said. Liz had started working with Barb and the others a few times a week. She liked spending time with all of the pups and not just Nikki. Good morning, Gemma. Noodle. Liz smiled as Barb laughed. Noodle, Barb repeated. Nikki ran past the desk towards his buddies Nico and Henry. Bye, Nikki, I called him, and he waved me off. I'll see you, ladies, later. I walked out of the pup care building and waddled my way towards the hospital, which was pretty much next door. I walked into the lobby, and the two nurses at the desk looked up as I walked towards them. Pungent perfume permeated my senses as I looked over one of them, filing her nails. She had long blonde hair and was relatively thin. The other nurse, a brown-haired older female, bowed, but the perfumed one ignored me. "Good morning, ladies," I greeted them. "Good morning, Your Majesty. What can we do for you?" the one nurse said to me. The one filing her nails eyed me, and I saw the glimmer of a sneer work its way onto her face. I momentarily ignored her. "Is Dr. Hall in this morning? I didn't see her this morning at breakfast." "No, I'm afraid she is out today," the brown-haired nurse replied. I sighed. "Is Dr. Hansen in, perhaps?" She nodded. "Yes, I believe he is in his office. I'll give him a quick call to see if he is available." The nail-filing nurse snorted and rolled her eyes. I tilted my head and regarded her but said nothing. I cringed as one of the twins kicked me in the ribs. I held my side as the brown-haired nurse saw my action. "Are you all right, Your Majesty?" "I'm fine. I just got kicked in the ribs." I laughed. "Oh dear," the nurse replied. "Dr. Hansen says he is free for a few minutes." "Okay, thank you. I'll go see him now." I smiled at the two nurses even though the one didn't deserve it. I walked down the hall and knocked on an office door. "Come in." A male voice responded. I opened the door, and an older male with grey hair looked up from the desk. "Ah, Queen Gemma." He stood up and held out his hand. I shook it, and he beckoned the chair in front of his desk. "How are you this morning?" I sat in the chair. "I am fine this morning, doctor. I came this morning to discuss my son. I believe he has PTSD, and I wanted to know if there is anyone available to help him." The doctor sighed. "We don't have a psychiatrist here at the Royal Hospital. But I have a few names I can give you." He turned his attention to the computer. "So, you suspect your son has PTSD?" I nodded. "He has nightmares almost every night. Last night I was woken up by his hysterical screaming. I ran into his room and found him curled up in his closet. It took him a few seconds to recognize me. And then he almost didn't recognize Cassius." I explained as the doctor listened quietly. "Poor pup. I know you two went through something horrible during your capture. I didn't hear the exact details, but I know for a young pup to experience that will scar him. It does sound like PTSD to me. But I am not a psychiatrist to properly diagnose him." He reached behind him towards a printer and pulled out a piece of paper. "These are numbers to a couple of psychiatrists available in the kingdom." He circled one. "Dr. Jennings is a friend of mine, and she is very good with pups." I smiled at him. "Thank you, Dr. Hansen. I appreciate your time." "Anytime, Queen Gemma. I hope your pup gets the help he needs. There is one more thing. Your niece is a nurse." He nodded. "Yes. Is she the blonde out front?" He stiffened and took a deep breath. "Yes, King Cassius told me she got a little overly touchy-feely with him. I told her to back off." "Well, she needs a lesson in manners also," I said as I stood up. "Sorry. I just thought she was a bit rude when I walked in. Didn't even bother to acknowledge me." He sighed. "I am sorry about her. She is a good nurse. My sister asked me to help her get a job here. But I will speak with her again." I hope she doesn't give you or the king any more trouble. That's good to hear. Thank you again, I said to him as I walked out of the office. I walked past the front desk, and only the brown-haired nurse was sitting behind it. She bowed and smiled as I walked by. I decided I wanted to head over to the training field. The walk would do me some good, and I wanted to see my man in all his glory working out. I noticed there was a bit of a crowd on the bleachers as I approached. I stood beside the bleachers out of view of most of the people sitting on them. I looked out at the field, and Cassius was sparring with Deke. They were both only wearing shorts, showing off their muscled forms. Of course, Cassius was bulkier and more muscular than Deke. The two were exchanging blow after blow as the crowd cheered. I smirked as Cassius flipped his beta onto his back. I noticed a group of she-wolves standing off to the side, admiring my mate and Deke. One of them was the haughty nurse I learned was Heidi. She was laughing with a couple of she-wolves. I wish the king would bend me over a desk and take me over and over, Heidi said to one of her friends. Yeah, but he is mated to that Gemma Mackenzie. One of the other females said. I had to repress a growl as I listened to them. I am so much prettier than her, Heidi stuck out her chest. I mean, look at me. I am supermodel material. You are Heidi. I don't see what Cassius sees in Gemma. The other female said to her. They laughed as the crowd cheered again. Deke was lying on the ground again as Cassius had his foot on his beta's chest. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.